Well, it all boils down to this, folks. We're down to the final four countries in this year's Copa America. Which two will make it through to the final and which two will go home? We're going to get into it, all of it, next. That's right, folks, back once again with another video. Today we're previewing or predicting the last four, that's right, the semi-finals of the 2024 Copa America, who of course will make their step closer to glory by getting to the final, and who of course will have to duke it out for that third, fourth place. But we'll get into all of that and more, and of course if you're new, smash the like, smash the subscribe. Your one-stop shop for Copa America is right here under one rooski. We are on the road, so we do apologise for of course the lateness of the video, but we're going to get into it so we can all compete and get our predictions in nice and early. Some crackers even on the agenda for us today, with of course a repeat of a group stage match and two heavyweights who've been in the darkness somewhat, locking horns for a spot in the final. We'll get into all of that and more in a minute. Of course, big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons, you know who you are. But let's get into it. We are talking about this, that's right, it is the Copa America, and we are now through to the final four, aka it is of course the last semi-final stages. But let's take a look at how we got to this point, and of course review our predictions. Alright then, folks, let's take a look back at, of course, my predictions of the quarterfinal stage. Here we go. Starting with the top of the shop, we had Argentina up against Ecuador, and that match, my prediction was a 3-0 win. We'll come back and take a little look at the actual score in just a second. Meanwhile, second game on one side of the bracket, it was Venezuela Group B winners up against Canada, and I actually went with a 2-1 win for Venezuela on that one. Then we hop on over to the other side of the bracket and we saw Colombia take on Panama. I went with a comfortable 2-0 win. It was a comfortable result, and we'll talk about it in a minute. And then finally, probably the big game of the whole quarterfinal stage, it was Uruguay, it was Brazil. And I actually went with a Uruguay victory, 2-1 win in the end. So how did I fare? Well, let's take a look at it then, shall we? Of course, first and foremost, Argentina coming out on top by the skin of their teeth. Penalty shootout victory for them in the end. Meanwhile, the Canadians came out on top with a 1-1 draw at the end, of course beating Venezuela on penalties to go through to the semi-finals. Meanwhile, Colombia trumped Panama with a big 5-0 win in the end. Comfortably done. They look very, very good. And then they'll take on Uruguay, who also squeaked past Brazil 0-0 in the end. Penalties was the deciding factor. And Uruguay kept their heads, and Brazil go home. That's, of course, where we are at right here, right now, with the quarterfinals done and dusted. This is where, of course, I would say about the Prediction League. Get involved. Don't forget, the links are out there. But we are now going to hop over to those illustrious semi-finals, because I am running a little late. I want to get these out there for your leisure. So let's take a look at the first one. It is a repeat of the Group A match between Argentina and Canada. So let's jump in the deep end and take a little look at this match in a little bit more detail as we look forward to it. Coming at you on the 9th of July, the MetLife Stadium. That will be a Wednesday, of course. Played each other twice since 2010. 2 wins out of 2 for Argentina. And they're coming to this hot to trot. 6 wins in the bounce, 100% form for them heading into this. The Canadians coming into this on 50% form for them. What we look at, 1-2, lost 2, and drawn 2 over the last 6. Unbeaten in the last 3. But looking pretty good for them at the moment under Jesse Marsh. Life under Jesse Marsh looking good. The most recent match was, of course, that Group A match back on the June 20th. It was in 2-0 win in the end. Argentina coming out on top. So far, the Argentinians picked up that 2-0 win. They also followed that up with a 1-0 win against Chile, a 2-0 win over Peru, and of course that penalty shootout victory over Ecuador. Let's hop on over to the Canadian side of things. Of course, losing to Argentina, they bounced that back with a 1-0 win over Peru, a 0-0 draw against Chile, and then a penalty shootout victory against Venezuela to put them here. And of course, credit must go to them. The goals coming at you right here, right now. Lautaro Martinez picking up 4 so far to his name. As for the Canadians, goals from Jonathan David and Jakob Schaffelberg are the only ones to the name at the moment. A quick look then at the bookies odds. 11-4 on is Argentina, 15-4 is the draw, 70-2 is your Canadians on this one. Of course, Argentina are red hot favourites, 5-4 on to win it, all of it. The Canadians are the underdogs, 25-1 to go the distance on this one for me as well. Well, what I'd like to say about this is that Canada have been proven to be very difficult to break down, and if they can get a little bit of what they got against Argentina in the first leg, they might be able to drag this to penalties. And then if that's the case, who knows? It could be the lucky dip, it could be anyone's game, but realistically, my head is ruling my heart here. I'm actually going to go with a comfortable Argentinian victory, 3-0 win to put them in the final, which would not be much of a surprise, to be honest with you. I think we've all been expecting it, so it's just a matter of time when that happens for them, of course. Let's hop on over to the other side of the bracket, of course, and take a little look at Colombia up against Uruguay. Now, this is the big one. I think we're all looking forward to this one. It could be an absolute cracker as well. So Colombia up against Uruguay, or it might actually be labelled as Uruguay up against Colombia, but it's at the Bank of America Stadium on July the 10th. That could be this Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong. 8th, 9th, 10th. Actually, this is the Wednesday. The previous games are Tuesday. Played each other 17 times since 1962. 4 wins for Colombia, 9 wins to Uruguay, and 4 draws, of course. Colombia, though, 92% form for them right now, unbeaten in at least the last 6. I think they go back way back with their unbeaten streak right now. As for Uruguay, also unbeaten in the last 6, but they've won 5 on the bounce, of course. The most recent match between these two sides was back in October 2023. It was a 2-2 draw in Colombia, part of the World Cup qualification phase for the upcoming World Cup in the US of A. Colombia's, actually the last time anyone came out on top with a regulation victory, it was a 3-0 win for Uruguay back in November 2020. Colombia's last victory, we've got to go back to 2014, the World Cup knockout stage, where Colombia came out on top with a 2-0 win. So far, the Colombians have been very impressive. 2-1 win over Paraguay. They followed that with a 3-1 win over Costa Rica, a draw against Brazil, and that 5-0 domination job over Panama. Meanwhile, Uruguay have picked up a 3-1 win over Panama, a 5-0 win over Bolivia, a 1-0 win against the US of A, and a penalty shootout victory over Brazil to put them at this stage. What about the odds then for this game? We're looking at 9-5 is your Colombia. We have 9-5 is your Uruguay. 90-10 is the draw. It does smell like a draw because these two sides have been red hot to bloody trot. But before we jump into that, quick look at the bookies' odds for the overall winner here. 11-4 is your Uruguay, second favourites. Colombia 7-2, a little bit further out. But it is quite tight between these two sides, and I don't know. I was leaning towards Uruguay, but I think from the performance last time around, Colombia do have something about them, a bit of a swagger right now, and I think they could be an outside tip, not just for this match, but for glory itself. And I think my record says they've only won it the once, so they're long overdue. I will be backing the Colombians for victory. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win in the end to steal them a massive shot in the dark coming at you right here from left field and maybe all the way to glory. So I'm going to back Colombia to meet Argentina in the final. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about that as we look forward to that final whenever it comes next weekend. All eyes on this one. It'll be absolutely cracking. Good big week as well. Maybe Canada can cause a shock, but realistically we don't think so. But the all eyes on the second game, Colombia against Uruguay. It's going to be a cracker. It's going to be a classic. Until then, guys, subscribe, smash the like, catch you later. But until then, we're done.